Hi kids, today we're reading Peppa's Spooky Halloween. It was Halloween and Peppa and George were at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house. Please, can we only do spooky things today, Granny? Asked Peppa. Yes, of course, replied Granny Pig. Most definitely, added Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig loves Halloween. Shall we bake some spooky treats? Said Granny Pig. Yes, please, cheered Peppa and George. Don't these cakes look yummy? Said Grandpa Pig. They're not yummy, Grandpa, said Peppa. They're spooky. Oh yes, very spooky, Grandpa grinned. Look how spooky. There's monster eye cupcakes and spiders and boo. What a great job that Peppa and George have done in decorating these cupcakes. Your house isn't very spooky, Grandpa, said Peppa. It isn't at the moment, said Grandpa Pig, showing Peppa a great big box. But let's see what we can do with these decorations. Look, the box is overflowing with Halloween decorations. Wow, gasped Peppa. You have so many Halloween decorations. Yes, said Grandpa. We've collected a lot over the years. Look, they've got a web with a spider, the jack-o'-lanterns, webs, and a bat. The house is looking spooky. After they had made the house spooky, Peppa and George wanted to make themselves spooky too. They looked in Granny and Grandpa Pig's dressing up box. Oh, they have lots of costumes. What will they find? Hee hee, monster roar, shouted George, putting on a funny monster costume. Look at all the eyes on his monster costume. Look at me, ha ha hee, cackled Peppa, who was dressed as a witch with her hat and broom. And I am the spooky vampire, ha ha, said Grandpa Pig in his best vampire voice. Look at his vampire teeth. Oh, that's spooky. Let's try on all the spooky costumes, cried Peppa excitedly. Mummy, shouted George, dressing up as a mummy and falling over his bandages. Meow, purred Peppa, looking just like a witch's cat. And there's George dressed up as a Halloween pumpkin. Tickle, tickle, said George, tickling Grandpa Pig with one of his 8 furry spider's legs. Grandpa's laughing. I'm rattling my bones, said Peppa, shaking her arms and legs in a skeleton costume. Dressing up in spooky costumes was lots of fun, especially when Peppa and George both dressed up as ghosts. Look, there they are. Boo, shouted Peppa, jumping in front of Granny Pig. Ooh, you scared me, Ghost George, said Granny Pig. No, I'm Ghost Peppa, Granny. That's Ghost George over there, said Peppa, pointing and giggling. Hee hee. Got the jack-o'-lanterns glowing. They're all lit up for Halloween. Peppa and George decided to change one more time. George liked the skeleton costume the best, but Peppa had something else in mind. Look at me, said Peppa. I'm a magical Halloween unicorn. Look, there's Peppa, the unicorn. Well, we can't have Halloween without a magical Halloween unicorn, can we? Laughed Grandpa Pig. Granny and Grandpa Pig gave Peppa and George a big round of applause. You're both so spooky, said Granny Pig. What spooky thing can we do next? Asked Peppa. Why don't you put on a spooky show? Suggested Grandpa Pig. Yes, cried Peppa. We can invite Mummy and Daddy and our friends to watch it. That sounds like lots of fun, said Granny Pig. Spooky fun? Asked Peppa. Oh yes, of course, Peppa. Spooky fun, said Granny Pig, laughing. Later that afternoon, Mummy and Daddy Pig arrived at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house. Wow, Granny and Grandpa Pig have gone all out this year, said Mummy Pig as she knocked on the door. She'd like to see all these decorations, making the house look spooky. The door creaked open and there stood Grandpa Pig in his costume. Welcome to the spooky house, he said. I trust you have come to watch this evening's performance of the spooky show. Yes, replied Daddy Pig, a little confused. What's going on? Once all their friends had arrived, it's time for the spooky show, announced Peppa. We hope you find it spooky, cried George. Everyone in the audience clapped and cheered excitedly. Look at all their friends all dressed up for Halloween. They're excited to see this show. Peppa and George took it in turns to dress up in the spooky costumes, jump in front of the audience and shout, "Boo!" George was a monster, and a mummy, and a furry spider. And Peppa was a black cat, meow, a rattly skeleton, a ghost, and a cackling witch. Hee hee! Ooh, gasped their friends, giggling. So spooky! At the end of the show, Peppa and George jumped out in their favourite costumes. I am the magical Halloween unicorn, and this is Skeleton George, Peppa cried. We hope you enjoyed our show. Peppa and George bowed as the audience clapped. Oh, cheered Danny Dog in his werewolf costume. What a fantastic show, said Vampire Grandpa Pig, patting Peppa and George on the back. Well done. Now then, everyone, said Granny Pig, it's time for some spooky dancing. Hooray! Everybody cheered, jumping up to dance to the funny, spooky music. They're very good dancers, having lots of fun. Did you have a fun day at Granny and Grandpa's house? Mummy Pig asked Peppa and George on their way home. No, Mummy, it wasn't fun, replied Peppa. It was spooktacular! Maha! There's Granny and Grandpa Pig saying goodbye after a lovely Halloween day. Peppa and George love Halloween. Everyone loves Halloween. What a great book. Reading is fun with Peppa.